What's up, everybody? That time of the day, that time of the week, that time of the month. You listen to the good, the bad, the ugly. You've got Big Papa, and Jeff is remote from his dungeon.
Love my dungeon.
Yeah, buddy. Coming to you live myself from the Ultimate Ears studio, where you can hear your own tears with Ultimate Ears. There you go. Hefe.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, my man?
Something new?
Pushed out because of the snow? You're a puss. You're a fucking puss. That's all I'm gonna say. Could have jumped on a snowmobile and come here.
With as much snow as we've got, yeah, I probably could.
Puss. Anyways, hey, great follow-up show for us today. I'm excited about this because we didn't get a chance to speak enough about some of the show antics and just this guy's got so many stories that we're going to have him on like monthly. That's all.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We're going to have to share the $12.87 monetized that we get. Yeah. It's coming out of your cut since you didn't show up today.
Whatever.
Part-timer.
I can.
Go ahead. I cut you off.
I said I can handle it.
All right. Let me turn you up a bit.
Big boy.
You're a big boy. All right. Without further ado, let's bring REV Jones into the cyber studio.
Hello.
I see the filling went well. That was good. What's going on, brother? What's been 3 weeks?
Yeah, it has. 3 holiday-filled weeks.
Yeah, did you have a good Christmas and New Year's?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Do anything?
I've seen TSO. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
see all the guys, hang out.
I've been wanting to do that. I have been definitely wanting to do that, but they're just not close enough here, and I don't want to fly anywhere and spend a shit ton of money to, But that's a show in itself. I mean, it's so grandiose with all the lighting effects and everything. It's I forget.
Yeah, I took my little 8-year-old for the first time, and it was his first like arena concert.
Right.
Oh, he loved it. We both had cool like sports coats on, and very Christmassy.
Nice.
Everybody, they could all see us. I mean, Al Petrelli walked over and he just like looked over like, really?
Get up here.
And then we got backstage and it was like, that's all they were talking about. They're so cool.
Right. His
so
first
the people in them.
His first laminate.
Oh no, he's got laminate.
Oh well. Has he seen Dad up on stage in a big?
Oh yeah. He's got up on stage with Thorogood and played maracas in front of like 4,000 people.
Yeah. All right. He's already got one up on Jeff and I, so that's good.
Oh yeah. And then on the way back to the hotel, him and the wife were walking, and the whole crowd's leaving the venue at the same time. They're all like, "Oh, you're awesome!" And
he's like,
"Yeah." He doesn't care. It's one of those things. A couple years ago, we were on the Sammy Hagar tour. We were playing Clearwater, and John Travolta was there, so he got a picture with John Travolta, and we were trying to tell him, hey, he's like a famous movie star. Huh? What? Yeah. He doesn't get that Sammy and Michael Anthony and all these people are like, Thorogood. These are famous people, and he's like,
well, yeah,
I know him. So it's kind of cool. He was the same with, he got back there and he's talking to Jeff Soto and all them, and he's just telling about it. He makes his games. He's a gamer, and he does all the coding and everything. So he's telling them all.
Right.
So it's kind of cool. You're all right.
That's cool. But somebody comes up in a Paw Patrol costume and he's gonna go crazy. Paw Patrol is in front of Thorogood, man.
Not anymore. He's done with it. He stopped watching Bluey now, and it's I'm like, let's watch Bluey. No, won't even watch Cars anymore.
Come on, I still watch Cars.
I know. I try to make him watch it, but
hey, as long as you're not watching porn,
Yeah. Oh yeah, he wouldn't do that. He's a good boy.
Look at Jeff over there.
What are you watching?
What are you watching, Jeff? Porn.
No, if the grandson comes over, it's either Shrek, the Famous Life of Pets, or something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well,
trying to get him acclimated to like Looney Tunes, you know,
or
get into the real stuff.
Just music.
Like when we were young.
Show him some of our old videos.
Oh yeah.
That'll make him laugh.
Might make him cry.
Watch the fat guy fall down again. That's funny. Speaking of laughs, Rev, you've got some stories that we've been going over, and I think it's time to bring some of this stuff to light, and this is a perfect time to do it. And on follow-up number 1 of 40, you know, we talked about some stuff with Mountain. We talked about some stuff with MSG, the Michael Schenker Group. I want to bring it to light. So whatever you feel that we can bring to light, you know, let's start off with probably some of the funniest things that you saw with Mountain. And
so the good starting place with Mountain is, I think I told you the story last time that I was supposed to play with Leslie on a tour opening for MSG.
Right.
I was going to play in both bands, and it didn't happen. So I told him, hey, if you ever get a tour and you need a bass player, call me. So literally he called me one day and he's like, hey babe, I got a tour. You're the bass player. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, cool. And so he tells me we got this warm-up show, you know, because it was a Satriani tour starting about 3 weeks later, but we had a one-off show, and it was outside of San Diego, like 3 hours in the middle of.
Right.
We actually hit a point where there was a giant sign that said, last minute to make a phone call. No cell service for like 100 miles or something stupid.
No shit.
Because it's a national park, you know. So we get to San Diego. We have the one of the only 2 rehearsals, and I wouldn't call them rehearsals, that I ever got to do with Mountain. And basically that was us 3 in a room. We start the song, play a bit, taps, that means go to the top, we end the song. And that's all he cared, because it was never the same arrangement. So, you know, we're not going to sit and rehearse something that's never going to be the same. So this is how it starts, this is how it ends. These are cues, whatever, you know. And so the first day we do that. So then we get up the next morning. They go to set up at the show. They call us and say, it's going to be a while before we come get you, because it's like a backyard white trash party that they forgot to invite people to, basically. So we're like, oh, great. You know, so I don't care. You know, it's my first show with them, you know, whatever happened. So we get out there, and they didn't have a dressing room for us. They had, like, the people lived there. It was like a house, and that was the production office. So we made them give us the whole den, you know, that it's the only thing that could close off, you know.
Right.
They didn't have any kind of diabetic foods or drinks, you know, and both those guys have diabetes. So, you know, it was just weird. The whole crowd was there, but there was like 12 stages all over this humongous park. And so there's like nobody that you can see. Every stage has got like 50 people, you know.
Right.
And but even if you had 4,000 people in front of the stage, it would look real empty, you know, just because it's in this, you know, like just open field, you know.
Right.
So we're down, you know, we do our sound check. We're down there. I'm fiddling with my gear or whatever. And then the guitar tech comes down and says, all right, I don't think we're doing the show. And I said, what do you mean? He said, they're fighting up there. So I go up there, and they're arguing about money because we got first, whatever the deposit was. We're supposed to get the other $8,000, you know?
Right.
And they don't have it. And they're like, well, we'll give it to you at the end of it. the end of the show, and Leslie and we had Scott Mark. He was he's Zach Wilde's brother-in-law, but he was the tour manager for Black Label forever. Big, mean,
Right.
He's in there, and then you got Leslie, and they're arguing about it. So the guy doing the show and his mom, just to let you know what kind of situation it was. So they go in a golf cart up to the ticket gate to get whatever money's there. They come back and they got like $4,000. Then they go in the bathroom together and they come out and they got $3,500. They realized they needed $500 to pay somebody else. And so they give that to Mark, and I'll give you the other, $4,500 after you play. So they looked at me and said, "Go get your gear." So I went and packed all my gear. We put it in the runner's car, and they come out, and we tell the runner, "Take us back to the hotel. We're not playing. You already breached the contract.
Right.
You're already getting sued. Period." And the woman and the guy come out and they're yelling at us, and Leslie takes over. He gets out, "You motherfuckers!" Oh, just starts yelling at him, and it's just one of my heroes, that I grew up admiring, and I don't really know him. I've only talked to him a couple of times on the phone, and all of a sudden he's about to lose it and beat these people up, and I'm loving it, because now I know that we're alike,
right?
So we leave, and they're like chasing us. It's like the Almost Famous movie when the bus is leaving and they're trying to shut the gate, and they're, that's what was going on.
Right.
So, and he'd already yelled at him that our flights and hotel were more than what they just gave us.
Right.
And we had to drive 3 hours out there. Now we're going 3 hours back. So we leave, we go back to our hotel, middle of the night, calls our tour manager because they called the police and said, "We kidnapped the runner and forced her to we stole their money and then forced her to take us back." So they had to actually come down, get a, statement or whatever. And then they ended up getting a hold of her, and she said, "Oh no, they didn't force me to do anything."
Right.
Yeah. So that was my first mountain show. Didn't happen. So I'm literally thinking, oh great, I'm going to be on tour and I'm going to fly home because something's going to happen. That's how I'm thinking of,
Right.
Because I don't really know. I haven't really seen mountain, on tour. I haven't seen, the venues. I didn't really know about the tour yet either. I just knew the dates, but yeah. And then it went on, after that, it was fine. Same deal. We went to Canada, did the same exact rehearsal, more or less, and started that, Satch tour. And everything was perfect from there on,
Right.
But that one time, and I don't even know what the town was down there, but it was pretty exciting. You're finally going to get to play with your couple of your heroes, and now we don't have enough money.
Everybody wants that Spinal Tap moment.
Oh, I know.
That's fucking awesome.
There's always those kind of, always those kind of events that happen where, something screwy, like I said about the MSG, I did that tour, and because we flew every day to a different country.
Right.
And so the way it is in Europe with the flying is, you don't get like 2 bags and they can weigh up to 50. You get a total weight.
Oh,
whether it's 2 bags or 1. And it's pretty low. Even your carry-on can't be more than 25 pounds.
Right.
It will not let you, bring it, which makes sense, things up above your head,
Mm-hmm.
After a while it's going to give. But, so we had to keep our bags and gear down. But so I also had to have stage clothes and real clothes. Was talked into only taking 1 bass, and they would have a bass for me, at every festival or whatever as a backup.
Right.
I never seen one.
Really?
So I brought 1 bass with me, and literally the very first show, and it was I used to play Fender, so is that the old kind of bridge, you know, it just has the little Allen screws that just raise it up, you know.
Right.
Well, it kept stripping out. The first day, it never had a problem, and it started stripping out. So literally after 2 songs, I'd have to go over and raise it. I moved it to my G string, so it wouldn't affect me as much. And I never could find a place to get one, you know, because we're literally traveling to, you know, a bunch of weird third world countries, and
right,
you know. So I ended up putting gaff tape under it. Blast. And it's funny because the 2004 MSG Live in Poland DVD, that's the bass I'm playing. And when they're doing close-ups of my solo, you can see it's all just gaff tape shoved under it. It just looks like a total ghetto kind of bass. But I had no choice. And I had to play that thing. I had problems with it every day because I took one bass. If I'd have had 2 basses, I would never had a problem. You know.
You'd think that your tour manager would be all over the backline guys just to have that shit sitting there. It's part of your rider.
Yeah, it was a weird tour. I mean, it was one of those tours that, you know, oh, we don't have a bus, we're flying every day, but you're going to have a hotel room. We're like, all right, this is cool.
Right.
But it wasn't, because, for instance, we would get to Italy or whatever, and one second, we'd get to Italy or whatever, and we'd get picked up, drive 2 hours to the venue, go in, set up, do this sound check, everything, and then we'd have, you know, like an hour before we started to go shower or whatever. We would just hang out, you know. It's like, well, we don't want to go an hour and then come back. So then we'd do the show, have to tear everything down, and then drive 2 hours back to the hotel, go to sleep, and 4 hours later get up to go start the thing over again. So it was real hard tour to be on.
Well, your schedule in itself has got to be like time to the minute almost, where you're like, oh, if we don't make this window, we're fucked.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we played pretty much every day. The thing with MSG was, for sure it would be 5 on 1. But majority of the time is more like 7 or 8 in a row and then 1 day off.
Wow.
I mean, it would have sucked to have been the singer, to have to go sing and talk that many shows in a row, you know.
Oh God, yeah.
And luckily that whenever the last tour I did over there with them, that was like that. The singer was from Finland, so he didn't really speak real good English, so he didn't have to worry about that.
Right. Jeff.
But yeah, it's always those problems with gear. I actually did a show. So I was in a band called Forte. It was a speed metal band in early 90s. We did this reunion show in Germany at it was outside of Hamburg. I can't think of what the festival was called. But so go 2 days later in Minnesota with Steelheart, you know. So it was one of those, man, everything's got to go right.
Right.
You know, so I got my bases and everything is going to go. So they're flying me from Hamburg, you know, to Minneapolis, and then I'm going home. So we get to Newark. That's our first stop. And actually, when we got to the airport, I realized my name was wrong on my ticket.
Oh, fuck.
So they put my first and middle name together as one name. Junior as my middle name, which is actually part of the last name.
Right.
You know. So they, you know, they let me on. It makes sense over here. But all I know is that when you're trying to leave a country, your name doesn't match that can be a problem.
Right.
You know. So we get to Newark, and I'm trying to get it fixed. So I have to actually leave and go to the other terminal outside, because I have to go to Lufthansa to get them to change it, you know, because it was booked through them.
Right.
They give me this whole runaround. They can't do it, and this and that. Finally, all right, we took care of it. I said, do I need to get my bases and recheck them? And she said, no, they'll be transferred. I said, all right, cool. So I can go back. We get to Germany, and sure enough, my bases aren't there. Which means not only, so it's my bases and the straps and my wireless unit.
Right.
Luckily, I had my stage closed, and my in-ears, but I didn't have, that stuff. The reason it didn't make it is because all they did to change my flight was change my name. So they canceled my flight, rebooked it under the right name. So that bag that was checked in under this other name, and he's not on the plane no more. So they sent it back to Oklahoma.
What the fuck?
Without telling me any of this.
So is your shit going around the carousel?
So I get there, and so I go to the festival grounds, and I got, this was 10 years ago, 12 years ago or something. So I could make phone calls on my computer, Skype, but my cell phone at the time wouldn't work over the,
right.
It was during that time period. So I go in the production office because I need in a line, and the only network line they have is under this desk. So I have to crawl under this desk, and it's huge. I mean, the room is like, I don't know, it's like a 400 square foot room, and the desk is almost as big as the room.
Right.
It's one of these, So I'm underneath the desk with my computer, and I'm calling everybody I know, calling the owner of Dean, and trying to see if I can find another Dean guitar, there. They had just stopped selling them. They lost their distributor, so they stopped selling them in that area. So I'm like, great. So I ended up just borrowing a precision bass. It was real nice. It played nothing like mine. It looked nothing like mine, but I had no choice,
Right.
So I just set it up real quick or whatever. And, but at the same time, I'm under this desk working this out because I also have to have a bass for the Steelheart show.
Yeah.
I had to have my only bass that was in my rehearsal room that I shared was this yellow and red one.
Right.
So my buddy overnighted it, which cost like $150, overnighted it. So it would be in Minnesota when I got there. So we do the show. I get to the airport the next morning, seat on my plane. Because when they canceled it and rebooked it, it didn't guarantee me a seat.
What the fuck?
So now I'm like stuck there, and I'm like, pay whatever I have to pay. I have to be on the, I'm like arguing with them, and then you can't go past security until they give you a ticket.
Right.
They don't let you do standby. So I'm stuck out there thinking I'm going to miss this flight, miss this show, And it ended up last minute. They gave me the exact seat that I already had booked originally.
What a coincidence. This guy almost had your same name.
Yeah. So I ended up getting there on time, and the bass got there, and I was like, oh, great. So I told the guys in Forte, I said, hey, whenever you're landing from my bass, because it's going to just be there, you know? And they couldn't find it or whatever. So then I fly home 2 days later, and I get my bass, and I look over, and there's my other basses just sitting there in a golf, like an SKB golf case, like a hard. That's what it's got, 2 basses in it. Nobody knows. They just think it's golf clubs. It's just sitting there, and it's been sitting there for like a couple of days.
Wow.
So
shit.
That's the fun of flying with gear.
Right. Jeff, you were going to say something.
Mike, you mentioned earlier about a rider. What I want to know is what goes into a REV Jones rider.
Well, it's pretty
elaborate.
Yeah, it's oh man, I'm trying to think. I got this file cabinet, but I don't know if I can get that big book out. It's about this big. No, I'm about as easy as you can be. I drink water, maybe some red wine. That's it.
Well,
there's some real elaborate ones out there.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Just to see if they'll get what they ask for. Just the dumbest shit going.
They all do that. When I played, it was fun. When I played with Fuel, there was I can't remember what it was. There was like a certain kind of mustard that, and it was always, you go into catering, and it was always like right there, like almost on display, like this little, little riser thing with it. Look,
we got it.
You have your mustard, and it's some weird mustard. And I asked him, I was like, oh no, I think I tried it, and it was just awful tasting.
Right.
And I was asking him, why is that there every day? That's their M&Ms. That's that's the one thing. If they skip that, they're probably going to skip, all the other, stuff that you really need. And it was like, really, you made me taste this awful mustard for no reason. Yeah.
We have a backline company here that does most of the big national shows, and he prides himself on trying to get everything on that rider. And I forget which band he was telling me. It might have even been like Eddie Money or something years ago. And in the rider, it was like autographed album, Ozzy Osbourne, Bark at the Moon, signed by the whole band. And it was just in there just because nobody ever fucking did it. And he found this thing and like had it sitting there, and they're like, you are the first person ever to come through with that one thing. And he's like, well, I'm just curious why it's there. He's like, because no one's ever been able to come up with it. And he spent like 3 days scouring the world for this fucking album.
Yeah, I know. What's funny is when I was in Steelheart on the rider, because it was all fly dates,
Right.
And because of all the years in MSG playing in these countries, even then it said no Ampeg will be accepted. We would get there, and then it would go, oh, we've got that Ampeg for you. I'm like, great. And it would be the only, and I always take my own head anyway.
Right.
Anymore, but the Ampegs is, you're going to get that one Ampeg that the country has, that whoever owns it, it hadn't been cleaned since, 72. It's this huge, gigantic, dusty thing where you spend 6 hours BIOS in the tubes.
Right.
So on an Ampeg, you have to BIOS, to where the lights come up green. And then every time you got to turn it off for like 15 minutes.
Right.
So to cool down, turn it back on to try it, then adjust it. So after, 4 hours of adjusting it, it's going to sound the best it can, which isn't that good. So when I got in Steelheart, we real big, bold, no Ampeg will be accepted. And still, I'd get the Ampeg, constant, And they would always say that. Oh, here's the Ampeg, we've got it for you.
Because they don't read.
It's crazy.
Well,
yeah.
I get.
What's funny about the album cover thing? So I use this line all the time where, and it really was Michael Schenker. I'd be going to get on the bus, and some fan would come up and get Michael to sign this. Have Michael sign it. Barking these commands at me, and I'd say, "Hey, hold on," and I'd go in, and I had this Jeff Beck, like the sleeve that went over the VHS or DVD or something. It was just the cardboard sleeve, and I'd always grab it, and I would come out, and hey, go get Jeff Beck to sign that for me. Stand there, and they're like, what the fuck's that about? I said, see, it's not cool, is it? I'd take it back, and I'd walk.
See, you are a dick.
Maybe. Yeah, I am. I do the same thing. The other thing that is very similar to that is that they come up and they try to tell you the story. And I hate being mean, but somebody comes up and they're like, oh, man, you play with Leslie West, man. The first time I seen Mountain was 1971 at the Fillmore and blah. They start telling me this, and I cut them off. And I'm like, check this out. 1975, Myriad Gardens, Oklahoma City. Yes, it was the Relayer tour. They came out, there was lasers, and they had capes, and they start looking at me weird, and I'm like, see, it sucks, doesn't it? And then I walk off. Yeah. So just remember that when somebody comes up to tell you a story you don't want to hear.
Just start with your own story.
Yeah, just take over.
Yeah, yeah.
Just 70, hold it serious.
Yeah, 71. I was 13, and I was. I stole my father's Playboy for the first time, and no, you don't want to hear that story? No, I don't want to hear yours.
Yeah. Is that before or after you win? Those were the bad ones. I mean, nothing against Michael Schenker fans, but man, be like the hardcore fans. They got like a Scorpions, Lonesome Crow shirt on. That you're like, God, I didn't even think they had those shirts. It was like 69 or something. They know everything. They're just up on you, and you're just like, God, hey, I just play bass.
Right.
I don't really care. I don't care about your life stories,
Right. And
I'll tell you my Michael Schenker story.
Yeah, you don't want to hear this one. I'm not the historian. Did you ever find that with being, bound to such a tight schedule that any of these shows went like just wicked late?
Oh yeah. Well, they always do. I mean, especially with, and it wasn't because of happened with Schenker, but it wasn't because of any other fact except for you're doing these festivals and it's mostly these metal, like death metal bands and stuff. And then they'll have the 2 or 3 like headliners that are more mainstream or whatever. So it's not really at that professional level, like you go to play at Vakken.
Right.
I mean, nothing ever goes wrong. If you're starting late, Holger's over there going, "Why are you starting late?"
Right.
He's going to kill you. He's going to force you out there. And so that I love that. That's how it should be. But I mean, we've done lots of them where you would just be sitting there, and they wouldn't really have dressing rooms. You got that tent. Oh, here's all your beer, and it's in cups already poured. It's been sitting there like all day. And
it's got bugs
here's your
in
food,
it.
and it's it's pasta, this big thing of pasta, and you're just like, okay. And you're sitting in this room. There's no floor; it's just grass.
Right.
And you're like, God, I thought we were going on at 8. Well, it's looking more like 10:30 now. And you're like, in America, you would just, all right, we're done.
Right.
But if you're in the middle of, Czech Republic, that ain't gonna happen. You're gonna do the show. And,
put you against the wall.
Yeah, you got to do whatever. But I mean, we had lots. There was lots of those weird kind of things like that with, on the MSG tour. And a lot of that too was that we played, we would be in these like small arenas and then huge festivals and then a club.
Right.
And so you had to kind of, adjust every day, and I mean, it was funny. We were playing this. So we're playing this club in, I remember the town, like Dortmund or something in Germany. And it was the last show of the actual run. We had some more festivals, but it was the last one. So we did a thing where after we play, we're going to go out and we're all going to do a meet and greet at the merch booth. We're all going to sign, do pictures, So we get off stage. We're back in our dressing room, and, this guy walks in, long hair, about 5'1", and he just walks over. He's like, "Man, you guys were great." And he just reaches in, grabs a Heineken, hands his buddy one, and just starts talking. And Michael said something. We just all assume this guy is like the promoter,
right?
Because he's American, and we're just thinking, he's the promoter or whatever. And he just keeps on. He's name dropping. Yeah, when I was playing with John Bonham back when we were kids, and like we're just looking at him like, who is this fucking guy?
Right.
And he's trying to talk to Michael, and Michael realizes, oh, wait a minute. We have to go do the meet and greet. Come on, let's go. And he's going, Michael, I'm not done talking to you. And, Michael just walks off, and we all, follow him out, and we're sitting there. People start coming up, and we're signing stuff, doing pictures, and he comes over and he starts yelling at Michael, "Don't ever fucking get up and walk away. I will kill you." And so I stood up and put my finger right in his face and said, "If you fucking cuss at him one more time, I'm going to fucking kill you." And, "Oh, you think so?" I said, "I do think so." And I come around the table and said, "I want him out of here." And they, and he fucking storms out and he's, "Shit, you guys suck," and throwing this big fit. And we just went back to signing, we were just laughing,
Right.
We don't know who he is. And then get done with that, we go over and my bass tech comes over and he said, "Hey, did you see Tony Carey? Something happened. He stormed out of here." I said, "Who?" He said, "Tony Carey from Rainbow." I said, "Oh, that's who that little dick was." Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious.
That's what you go through because you never know. I mean, that's what sucks is if, especially when you're in another country and you don't know, these people come in, they just start talking.
Right.
And you can't say, "Hey, get out of my dressing room." "Oh, I'm the promoter," because you just kind of assume that everybody, knows each other.
Right.
And you got to kind of hold, it's like, when do I hit him? Do I wait to find out, or do I hit him and then go, "Oh, I didn't know that was,"
Yeah, but that would have been kind of cool if you think about it.
Oh, I would.
Blabbermouth.
I wouldn't have. The ones on Blabbermouth, but I wouldn't have hesitated if if he would have came again, you know.
Yeah, see, Tony Carey was gone before. Graham Bonnet's going to be on the show next week, but Tony was gone when Graham was there. I think Tony was gone in like 77, and Graham was there from 79 or something like that. So
yeah,
but
I love Graham. You know, I've only had the pleasure of playing with him. And it didn't even happen on stage. It was a weird. We did this MSG show at NAMM, and so we had, I think Macaulay sang the show. Kelly Keeling got up and sang a song. I think Graham was going to do Assault Attack. A couple other people got up and sang. A couple of, you know, like Warren DeMartini, people like that got up and played too. You know, and but we did a rehearsal, and I felt bad for Graham because, you know, so Rob, we're just kind of going through the motion. Robin's barely singing, you know, he's no reason to go in there and just, you know, pound it out, because basically we're just making sure we get the arrangements, you know.
Right.
So we were going to finish, and then Graham was going to, you know, we were going to work on the song for a little bit. And, but instead he walked in like one song before that song in the set list. So Michael looks over and goes, "Oh, we are doing it next. Do you want to go ahead and," "Yeah, okay, yeah." So he gets over, no check or anything. We hadn't got to talk about the song, and he's never sang the song before, except for on the album.
Right.
Yeah. Because they did the album, and then during the first show, the very first show, after he joined the band, he sang 2 songs and got arrested for pulling his junk out on stage or something. And
Graham Bonnet did?
That's why he was out of the band. They called Gary Barden and hired him back, and he finished that Assault Attack tour, you know. But so he never really sang the song, but, you know, maybe a couple other times, but not really. So he's got the words there, you know, and that's a big, you know, "You bring me down." That's what, you know, it's that big
right
voice, and it's these super high notes. And so we run through the song, and the second he starts singing, all you can hear is him. Like,
right.
All the instruments are gone because Robin's been barely singing into this mic, and it's loud. So now Graham's doing it, and the speakers are going, "Oh, shit." And it wasn't that he sang bad. The timing was off because he can't hear anything, you know.
Right.
And he's reading the words, you know, and there's a lot of words. So it's one of those things that, you know, hey, we can do this song 4 or 5 times and he'll get it. Plus, on the choruses, I always sing the lead part so the singer could pull out and then come back in on, you know, after a first line or whatever, because I'm doubling him.
Right.
And so, you know, it's that breathing point. Well, we hadn't got to talk about that yet. So literally we did the song, and then he went and sat back down, and then Robin comes back, and we were playing some more, and then he went out to do something, and then he left.
Right.
And then Michael's like, "Oh, I do not believe that Graham can sing the song," because Michael just thought he can't sing it. You know, he didn't realize what just went on with the mic, you know. And now Graham's gone, and we can't even go, "Hey, you know, we can pull this, you know, we can pull this off. I sing this part," you know. So I never got to, you know, then Dave was the show, and he decided not to do it, or Michael decided. I'm not sure what, you know, what actually transpired, but
well, I think
it was kind of sucked because I really wanted to, you know, play on stage with Graham and sing that, you know, sing those parts with him. But
right. I mean, the guy's, you know, it's him when he's singing. He's got that iconic voice. But I know that a lot of throughout his career, I mean, I'm definitely not going to bring this up with him. But, hey, tell me about pulling your shit out after one concert.
Ask him. Because it's like a funny story that they all knew about. It was in Europe somewhere.
Right.
And I think Gary Barden told me the story first, and then like everybody that was around back then, they all knew. Oh yeah.
He played
like, and Robin McCauley was in what was his band? Oh man, I can't remember what his band back then was called. They played either right before or right after Schenker that night.
Right.
So me and Robin had talked about it too.
It was at the concert was at Sheffield Polytechnic.
Yeah.
At one show, and they tried to blame it on the fact that he's diabetic. and they said that if his diabetes was fucking with him a little bit, low blood sugar or something, he was crashing, that he would act erratic. So, I mean, but I didn't realize it was because he pulled his junk out, because he only did the one.
I mean, and we heard. I asked Michael about it, and he's like, yes, and so I had to call Gary to finish the tour because he was just scared that Graham would do it every day.
Right.
And it's funny because Michael is one of those guys that you're being fired or whatever, you're not here. Like he just forgets about you.
Right.
Like boom, gone. And then, he's only focused. He's not thinking of, these other guys, these other singers,
Right.
I mean, quickly gets over it, which is great. That's how it should be, because you're in the business where you're going to have, 100 singers over his career, probably,
Right. Right. Well, he went on to do good stuff. So,
Oh yeah. But I love Graham. It's funny. We used to go to, it was this, convention, in LA. It was called Concrete Foundations Forum.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was kind of like how Southwest by Southwest is, except it was for hard rock and metal. And it was at LAX, and they moved it to Burbank. And it was like, I mean, I've seen everybody there except the Scorpions, Kiss, Pantera on the Cowboys. That was their first, big thing that everybody's seen them and said, oh God, but it was this killer thing. And every year Graham Bonnet would be there, and I'd get my picture with him every year. And I got like pictures of me and him every year. And Graham always looked cool. He, because to me, he's one of my favorite singers voice wise,
Mm-hmm.
Him and Jeff Soto, they just have those voices that, it's them. The range, you don't realize how high it is till you start singing it, and you're going, oh, I don't think I can do this,
Right. Jeff.
And
Jeff has such a great voice.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's otherworldly, I think, sometimes.
That was the best thing about when Jeff Soto started singing for Yngwie. He sang all those Alcatraz songs, and it sounded like Graham,
Right.
Yeah. It was like, wow. And Graham told me too, is one of those times I was talking to him at that convention, we were talking about his singing, just how all those, all the stuff. And he told me that one of the biggest mistakes he made was punching in every line, so he'd only sing one line at a time. So that way they were all, you want that. They're all so powerful. But realized after the fact was that he gave himself nowhere to breathe.
Right.
Because at the end of the verse, it'd be, da, 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 why don't you, and it'd be immediately into another pounding,
right.
And, that takes a toll, but he still sounds great.
Oh, I know. I'm amazed. I forget how old he is. He's born in 47. I mean, he's not a young kid, he's 77 years old,
Yeah.
So, when I called to book him for the show, I talked to his significant other that he's with now, and she plays bass for him.
Yeah.
And he came in.
Actress.
Great. I mean, I spent 45 minutes shooting his shit with him, just on the phone, back and forth. He's cracking jokes, telling stories, talking. I can't even get into some of the content because we're recording this, but he's just a good fucking guy, and I put him in a category with like you and with metal, and it's just, you guys, you bring something to the industry, and I got to say to you, Rev, not just because you're here, and I told Metal this yesterday when we were talking to him. It's good to have the people that have done well, that are just fucking cool, humble. We've had our run-in with people that aren't, as you will in any walk of life.
Oh yeah.
But we can't thank you for being just fucking cool, Yeah. And that's why we feel like this kindred spirit when we have guys like you and Mike on. I mean, Mike's getting ready to come up here in the spring, ride his bike up, and we're taking our bikes out, and we're gonna go for, So we're already talking about doing shit like that. I mean, it's just
Cool.
You know, it's the people that don't forget we're all just human. You know, there isn't a pecking order in life. You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, I
know it's funny. It's that thing that when I see these people like Taylor Swift, you know, that are so beyond famous that they're looked at, you know, or are, you know, Beyonce, whatever, are these actors, they're always looked upon like they're this, you know, this being that, you know, like we're just peasants and they're this. And it's funny because when I watch like reality shows or whatever, it's just everything's such an act, no different than music.
Right.
You know?
Right.
When you see the band, rarely is the person off stage the same as he was on stage. You know, I mean, there's that exception where Phil Anselmo is just as badass of a dude off stage as, you know, there is no difference. But most people get on stage and you're just nuts and you're crazy, and then get off stage and you got flip flops and you're little cocktail and you're watching, you know, Family Guy.
Right.
You know, that's reality. But people get that other view, like they start buying into the story, you know, like, you know, here's a perfect example. Not that I hate the guy's music, but I hate that he lip syncs every show. Is Lenny Kravitz.
Okay.
I hate that he. I mean, I watched him on the People's Choice thing or whatever. They're giving him the Icon Award. And he's not playing guitar either, because he's a half step off from what he should be playing like this. And I'm like, he's in the wrong spot. You know, that's what kind of got me the first time. I knew he wasn't singing because you can tell it's the same track from the album.
Right.
And it's funny because there's a guy that exposes people for lip sync, and he has you send in as many shows as possible. And he pulls the vocals off left and right, and anything that's the same is going to go to the center. How phasing works, you know. And they have like 15 different shows over the career of Lenny Kravitz, and it's the exact same vocal track on every single show. And to me, if you're worshiping this person as a musician or a singer, which you should, if you love it, if their music does something for you, you should.
Right.
You know, that's the whole point of the rock star. But when they can't even do that, when they're not even really doing it, that bothers me. You know, yeah. I mean, to where I don't even stand the thought of them. You know, it's like, oh well, you know, he doesn't always lip sync. Yeah, he does. And if he's lip syncing, he's cheating you.
Yeah.
Know? I mean, who knows if it's at that point? Who knows if it's really him singing? I mean, we know it is because his voice sounds the same
right
when he talks. But how do you know? I mean, look at Paula Abdul. You know, she got sued because that other girl sang her whole album.
Right.
You know. And then they put her, what do they do? They put her on a singing show where she critiques people singing.
Right.
It's awful. Sorry.
Well, what they should have done, they should have brought the girl that sang her parts to try to win the show and be like, what do you think? Do you think I'm a good singer?
Yeah.
Tonight I'm going to be singing a Paula Abdul song. It's going to sound just like the album.
Right. Yeah. Sounded great.
Speaking of great, I mean, Rev, you've worked with one, which is Millie from Steelheart. I mean, there's a guy, he holds the microphone up to the sky, and he's just as powerful as he is when it's up close. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm going to let you in. I'm going to let you in on a little secret.
All right.
He's actually singing.
Yeah.
Millie's great. I've heard him on his bad night.
Mm-hmm.
It's so beyond most people's great night.
Right.
You know, it would only be a bad night because he wasn't feeling it, you know. Like there was a couple times due to travel, you know, we're in Indonesia and you're traveling 6 hours and then you get there and, you know, you have to go on. It's 7:30. You have to go on, you know. You can't go, oh, wait a minute, you know, like in a normal situation, you know, and there was a couple of those times where, you know, like I was like, wow, maybe he's not going to be able to sing. He did. He went out and it was exactly there. And I'll tell you why is because he knows how to sing properly.
Right.
He can sit there and every word of every song that he does, he can sing the loudest possible, softest possible. I mean, he can hit every note real soft, and then he can hit the same thing really loud. It's this natural thing that he has. And there's several people that have it. Most people don't. Most people, you develop this singing ability, you know.
Right, the muscle memory.
You can pound it out, but sometimes it's hard to do it soft. Or you can do it soft, but it's not as, you know, smooth sounding. His voice sounds the same. As he gets louder, it just gets grittier, you know.
Yeah.
As it should. And yeah, and it's funny because I see people like that, and then you see somebody who's what is on the album is not hard to do because every cover band in the world can do the Lenny Kravitz songs.
Yeah.
So he's not doing something. It's not like he's doing, you know, some Jeff Tate, you know, stuff that's hard and you know, where you got to have so much control. He's not. He's doing this simple stuff and he's lip syncing. So that's what it bothers me more.
Yeah.
And you know, and I understand people use tracks. I 100% hate when I hear a band using tracks. And it's part of it is because if you're going to, you know, they might say, oh, we just got keyboards on there. We just have a little bit of backup vocals, you know. It's once you've set into that mode, eventually you're going to have other stuff. I just might as well put lead vocal on there. Let's add guitars. And then it gets out of, you know, and it gets carried away and it's not, you know, to me, it's not, you're cheating the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing it. You know, if you listen to somebody like Blackie Lawless, we're doing it so it'll sound like the record. Well, they want to hear the record, they'll listen to the record, you know.
Jeff's favorite.
I mean,
Jeff loves tracks.
Yeah.
I hate them. And you know it.
I know you hate them. We would never use them.
Yeah.
I get that if you cannot bring an orchestra or an entire choir with you, I understand it. But don't stand up there and fake your shit.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, even when when we would do cover songs, and if there was a keyboard part, we didn't bring a keyboard part in. We had Jeff or I was a guitar player just learn the shit on the guitar and do our rendition of it. And once the first four notes come out, somebody's like, "Oh, I know that song. This is what they're doing," and it's okay. You know, you didn't.
Yeah.
You know, not everything has to be Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, and then you also lose that. You know, when you have a backing track, you lose the vibe too because you're stuck to that. You know, now It's funny because. When I was in Steelheart, we had one song that had a backing track, and there was nothing on there except for these like bass drops and these percussion things and noises. And it was we did a cover of Black Dog, Led Zeppelin.
Right.
So, and it was only because it had these, you know, like these little drum machine, you know, rolls that is obvious. It's not playing the song. Everybody's singing. There's no vocals whatsoever on the track. But what got us on this, and this is why I hated doing it, half the time our sound guy really wouldn't have it in the mix, you know.
Right.
Because it's festival, so you're not really doing a sound check, you know. You're getting a quick line and, you know, and it doesn't matter. But the problem is the drummer has that click in his ear.
Yep.
So this, you know, it'll go do-do-do-do-do-do, hey, you know. So if he comes in right there, it's fine. Because that click's going here, but only the drummer can hear it. So if Millie waited a second longer, it'd be, hey, mom, you know, before he's done.
Right.
Because we have to come in. I'd be looking at Mike, the drummer, and he would just, you know, and he would have to, I felt so bad for him that you're having to hear this.
Yeah.
And, you know, and here comes this. And it's nobody in the crowd would ever know. You know, because you can't go by it sucks because you hear his voice and then all of a sudden your whole timing is off.
Right.
So we always tried to push to not use it. Eventually we stopped using it.
Right.
You know, and it wasn't a big deal. Millie liked it because it had all the weird percussion sounds, and it made it different. But that was it,
Fans that, well, most people, 99% of the people that are listening to the show, musician or not, don't realize what the drummer hears on his click. And it can be extensive, or it can just be but you've got some of them that are like, big ending, or it's telling you, wait for this, wait. They're listening to this. So they're being, if they're a studio guy that's just picking up the last 6 weeks of the tour, it's telling them what to do. And if, like you said, if it's off a bit, they're just doing what they're hearing,
Yeah. And it's weird. I've been in a bunch of the hair bands that have tracks, and, I always hate it anyway. If three guys can't go, bang, God, you shouldn't be on stage.
Right.
There's no reason to have a backing track for that song, but these bands all do.
Right.
But the only band that I toured with that had full tracks was when I played with Fuel. They had tons of tracks because they had like extra voices. Everybody sang, and there was a double of it, and then there was keyboards, there was extra guitars, and also had like voice cues,
Right.
The only thing that was cool was that you'd hear last time, 1,
right,
2, 3, 4, click, 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 click,
bang.
There'd be no count into the song because you hear it in your ear, and that's got it. It's cool because you just be standing there and then you're going. But and that was the first time I ever had to wear tape them to my head because they would fly out. And there was no amps on stage, so I'd have to make sure they were back in, and But to me, it's it's what if you're in a club and you don't have a keyboard player, and you add tracks and it's just keyboards, that's fine. If you're playing jump, hey, you should.
Right.
But if you're on tour, you can afford a keyboard player.
Right.
Get a crew guy that plays keyboards, unless, and if you have them every song, then you should have a keyboard player.
Well, look what Mudvayne did with Rafferty. Rafferty was playing backstage. And then they finally said, let's bring him out. And now you're not going to say anything. You're just going to stand back here and put all your makeup on. And now finally, and he's from Syracuse, so that's why I mentioned him. But
there's a guy named Scott. I can't think of his last name. Scott. He played with Dio. He plays with the Dio Disciples.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, keyboard player.
It was Scott Warren.
Scott Warren. I think he played with Kiss. I know he played with Warrant. The only time he played keys and sang backups. Played for a couple other bands, but I met him. We were on tour with Dio, and he was the keyboard player. It was when Tracy G was playing. He was playing bass, playing drums, and because Scott was off stage.
Yeah,
like he's right on the side of the stage, and he's just rocking out. He looks cool. He's playing, but he's off stage. Nobody in the crowd can see him. Yeah, we would always just walk over and drink beer, watch him. And he was such a nice guy. And over here he was visible, but over there, because the stages were always different size,
mm-hmm.
and for some reason Ronnie had him off stage. Like didn't even bring him out to introduce him.
Right.
It was kind of weird, but a lot of people, Aerosmith, that guy that sings backups and plays keyboards, same deal. It should be that way. If you're going to have somebody, hell, I do it with George Thorogood, it's guitar tech, but I'm playing guitar on, 3 or 4 songs sometimes,
Yeah.
Anytime he's not playing a guitar, when he just has a mic, I'm probably playing guitar off stage.
Right.
And it's mostly for him. I don't, it doesn't really matter if it's in the mix, but he wants to hear it because he goes from him hearing his guitar to now he only hears the other one, and he's up in the front and he can't hear,
Right.
It's not as full. That's basically why I have to do it. Because if I said, I don't want to play on this song.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll play, because it's, what am I paying you for?
Right.
Kind of joke. It's a joke, but, still.
I'm always one for if they're playing and they're part of it, bring them out. I mean, even the girls that play the stringed instruments for Aerosmith, the girl that plays cello there, she's also with the Raiders, and she the Raiders support band, and she plays with Femmes of Rock. Chloe, she's been on played here a couple times, and we've talked to her. She deserves the recognition for having that much, and she's on tour with them. So bring them out. They don't have to, but like you said, introduce them. And hey, you've just heard this person all night. Tyson Leslie playing with Vixen and shit. He's playing on stage now, but I don't think he always was. But now he's starting to get some recognition. But
I've known lots of crew guys that sing backups.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hell, the guitar tech in that's with Warrant now. The song that has keyboards, he plays now because now they got a guitar tech that plays keys. He's like, I'll play over here.
Right.
Hey. That's, to me, that's better. I would rather that than
play the click. Right.
Unless it'd be better. I would like it better if they had a cardboard cutout of a keyboard player and then you use a track. Then it would be cool because it'd have a vibe.
If everything's fake, you might as well make everything fake. Yeah, but how many of those techs end up getting a gig? Sal G from Stained, he was the drum tech and then the drummer leaves, and they're like, "Shit, we need to find somebody." And he knows the parts, and now he's their drummer. And Sal's a great.
Well, you got to know. I mean, that's part of the deal. I mean, hell, even me being guitar tech for Thoroughgood, last year I played like 6 shows because the bass player had a family thing he had to go deal with, and he just called me and said, I need you to play the next shows. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm out there playing bass with Thoroughgood, going, I hope he's not messing my guitars up over there.
Hope my check reflects this show. Oh shit.
What's working with George like anyway? Because I've heard I've heard he can be a little, I'm not even sure what the word I want to use is, but
taxing.
Yeah, we'll use that.
Nah, it's all those guys are. I mean, it's like a family. I mean, I'm close with all of them. George is like one of the super coolest guys you'll ever meet. I mean, there's no act. How you see him on stage, that's him 24/7.
Right.
He is that character. That has always been him, and it always will be, and it's great. When I first met him, I thought, God, he's going to be different. I thought he was going to be, oh, hello, or, some other way. Immediately, I see this shirt. James Coburn gave me this shirt. I was like, exactly. That's what, and, he's full of shit. Every story he tells is probably, bullshit.
Right.
See, Elvis gave me this watch, this Apple Watch. Elvis gave it to me. It would be, but I love George to death. George is, he's the coolest. He treats everybody great. Treats my family great. Easy to work with. All the bad guys, they're all great. So
we can't wait till you get him on the show for us. That'll be great when we can interview him.
He might would do it.
He's family.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how much juice you got.
All right, bring it on.
Oh,
mic drop, pen drop.
Yeah.
Jeff, you have anything else you want to say? I mean, you've been just sitting there in your dungeon. I was waiting for you to let the little, migrant workers you got chained up down there making sneakers, let them go.
I should. I'm paying them a whole 10 cents an hour.
That's your input for the show? What the fuck?
No, I'm just
fucking wheels of the bus.
it's crazy to think of all the people that you've worked with and as many miles as you've traveled.
Right.
You're not even close to getting ready to give this up.
Probably not. I hope not. Because I still got about 80 years to pay off my debt.
Jeff, should we ask the question we dumped on Goldberg last night?
All right. Bring it on.
That'd be great.
You want to ask it or you want me to ask?
When your time finally comes, how do you want to be remembered?
Well, there's this video of me wearing these pink Bad to the Bone shorts. It said Bad to the Bone on the back. And that was all I was wearing. And I had a ukulele, and I'm in West Palm Beach, Florida, out on the pier. And I was singing, well, I know you belong to somebody new. And I did the whole song. We shot a video, and that's how I want to be remembered.
That's your legacy.
That's your legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. We almost made Metal cry last night with that question. So completely different.
What did he want to be remembered for?
Being a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He is.
Lots of great times with Mike. I mean, working with him was great too. You know.
Yeah.
And because Leslie would sometimes a little hard to work with, you know, like studio wise.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So I witnessed Mike go through it, you know. And it's not that he's hard. One note on it, one of the albums, only one note and it had to be tuned because it was a little flat. And it was one of those things that he said, "Oh, just sing it again." And Leslie said, "It's fine." Leslie would get just determined, "I'm not going to sing that note again." Yeah, for no reason. You know, he would just do that. You know, if you said, "Here, try it again," that's fine. You know, take it out. You know, like that's just how he was. And so couldn't get him to do it. You know, so he had to. That one note, he had to tune it up just a hair, you know.
Right.
And that's just how, that's how it was with Leslie. We tried to do a song one time. We recorded it. People Get Ready, right? And Leslie just kind of learned it singing it, you know. So he played the chords wrong, you know, when it would go, you know, D, B minor, G, A, D. But one of the times it goes to the B minor and then the G instead of going back to D. Leslie could never remember that. Because if you just play D again, it's still going to sing right.
Right.
It's B minor and D. They're relevant to each other. But when he's singing it, it doesn't matter. But when the whole band's playing it, and I was like, it's B minor. So he would just not play when it would go to that chord. He would just not play. And then come back in.
Right.
Just because he didn't want to put it in his mental Rolodex that it's a B minor.
Right.
Right.
Because he already learned it as D. So he would just not play the chord. And I was like, Leslie, you're playing the chord every other time anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And he just wouldn't. It's just how, you know, it's Leslie.
Right.
Yeah. Loved the guy to death. He was the greatest, you know. But it was just little things like that. So watching Mike have to deal with him, I realized Mike really good at his job. I mean, he was really able to, you know, talk Leslie into things, talk him into fixing things. A lot of people, I don't know if he told you the story with Johnny Winter cutting the guitar solo on the Leslie song. All right, I don't know if I told you that. Maybe
I think you told us that.
Yeah, where Johnny just played it once, and he's like, "Okay, that's fine." And we're like, "No, we're still getting." You know, we had to eventually, because they wouldn't tell Johnny, "We need you to keep playing." You know, his manager. So we just had to fool him and say, "Okay, this is just going to be an outro. Just kind of play, and we're going to bring in you and Leslie." You know, we had to lie to him,
right?
So he would. So then they ran the song from the top, pulled the vocals out, and he just kind of soloed over it. That way, they had enough stuff to make sure. I mean, pretty much everything he played was great as Johnny Winter.
Right.
You know? But just in case, because we drove to Connecticut to do that, So now we're going back to Jersey to finish it. So, we got to make sure. And it was funny because he's playing along with it and he keeps looking up, like, you can tell he's like, how long is this outro? It's like a 5-minute song. And then it comes to one part where these punches, like, and we're just going, keep playing. Had to trick him into just to make sure we had enough,
Right.
But Mike does a great job.
Yeah, we definitely enjoy the stories and just enjoy the person it is, And like I said, we say that about yourself.
The Johnny Winter story that he told us was that Johnny could see.
Oh,
about how he always used to get like this close to your face because he couldn't see you, and then 20 years later, the surgery, and all of a sudden he walks in, he hangs up his hat, he hangs up his coat.
He says hello to Mike.
Yeah.
He's like, what happened? Yeah.
Right.
Because I had cataracts.
It's Edgar's the same way. Edgar, he can't, you'd never guess it seeing him on stage because he runs around and he's, playing the keyboard thing and all that. They have all these, so he knows where he's at.
Right.
He can only see a few, a little bit. And it's weird because I come flying into a dressing room one day, come around the corner, and there he was. He's like, Rev. And I'm thinking to myself, how can he see me? but yeah, both of them. Johnny, he'd get right up to you.
Yeah.
He was a great guy too.
Yeah.
Got to hang out with him all the time.
That's cool. Dude, we could, this is one of those things that we've got another 3 hours worth of shit. So you're coming back, right?
Oh yeah. I will come back. I'll come back. Next time I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you the Spain story. Festival story. I'll give you
the Spain 4 hours late story.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Nice. Next time, send me a cheat sheet, will you, please?
I got to think of them. I was trying to think of other funny ones because you like all the weird.
That's what we like.
Having problems. So one of the funniest things I ever had to do in front of a crowd, nobody knew about it was, so the first Rocklahoma, we're about to go on with Steelheart, and somebody was supposed to play the national anthem, and they weren't there. So we were getting ready, and so the guy, one of the promoters, that I've known all my life, him and Eddie Trunk come over, and they're like, "Hey, can you do the Star Spangled Banner for it?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I come out there, he introduces me, and I pretty much play it the same. One little section I do the, fast, tapping stuff, but I kept it, real, really close to how it's supposed to be. To the point where one of the military guys came up and said it was the most respectful version he had ever heard.
Right.
At a rock show. So I was like, cool. But the whole time I'm playing, because I have my in-ears in, all I can hear is, okay, Tom 1. Tom 2. Starts playing, and he starts doing a bunch of stuff as I'm playing.
Right.
I don't do anything about it because, there's 35,000 people in front of me, and I'm like, and there's a video of it, and you can see the Mike in the back hitting the drums. You can't hear him through the PA, but you can see him back there hitting it, and every now and then you can see me kind of like, oh man, because it was just so much going on. Like they're bringing it up in my ears, and I'm like, oh god. But those are the fun. That kind of stuff always happens. Yeah.
Well, see, when you mentioned there's a video of it, Jeff and I are going to scour looking for that. It's just like we're going to look up the 2004 MSG Live in Poland. I'm going to have to try to find that one.
Yeah, I think that all of those are on there. There's a lot of that you can find. Pretty much, that was the best thing about then. Nowadays, there's got a phone and they're filming. but you can't find any of the videos.
Right.
It's terrible. I mean, it was weird because back then I could play an MSG show and there'd be like 50 reviews of the show immediately the next day online. There would be a video of every song from like 8 different angles. And, we would do 300 shows in a year. There was so much out there. And nowadays you can't, I'm like, how do I find videos, Because it's like nobody posts them anymore,
Well, they're only going to get 60 seconds because that's all anybody wants to post. They can only keep your attention. If someone can come up with a heartfelt 60-second song, to monetize, you need to be 91 seconds, anything over 90 seconds. So they'll come up with a 91-second song. You're golden.
Yeah.
That's why you see these TikTok and you're like, oh, that's the TikTok song. You don't even know that there's 2.5 minutes more than that. All you hear is that 90 seconds. And it's like, oh, that's the.
See, and I'm not one for going to a show and looking at it through my phone.
No.
On stage.
No, right.
Yeah.
It's like my daughter used to sit there with the phone at the fireworks when she was little. And I'm like, put that down. Right. Watch the fireworks. Enjoy it. Experience it. Feeling it. You're never going to watch this again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Dad, I need a new phone. My phone's full. I got 66,000 photos. And that's not an exaggeration. It's an actual number. 66,000 photos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've taken 6,600.
on that last tour I did with Doogie and MSG, he would tell them, if you're going to film, go to the back. Camera, I'm kicking. And he would kick the camera out of people on the front row, fans. He wouldn't care. Because he just told them at the beginning, I don't care if you film. These people came to watch the show. You go to the back and film. And they just didn't kick it or grab it and throw it. He didn't care.
They have technology now. They have technology now that they can look through a finder, and anybody that is videotaping with their phone or taping with their phone, it makes like a star effect around that person's phone. So they can send security to take that person out because, like a lot of these comedians, do not want their shows recorded. So there's technology to get rid of those people from it. Hey, if that's what it's going to keep, why am I going to spend $120 for a ticket when I can watch it tomorrow or watch it on YouTube Live or Facebook Live? So
well, that's a thing that a lot of people have that with the set list. That it's like right when this Thorogood show's over, everybody in the front, give me a pick, give me a stick, I want it, set list. They think that they're entitled to have something,
right?
That they sell, something they sell at the merch booth. Once you tell them that, they're like, I'm a real fan. Yeah, then you go to the merch booth and buy it.
Right.
But that's part of the reason that they don't like to do it is because then the set list gets out and then people, then they know what you're playing.
You can go online now.
Very few people change it.
Right.
Thorogood does. I mean, there's 4 or 5 songs that rotate.
Right.
Like this one, a few songs, and then he'll replace it with this one. They keep track of every set list that they played at every venue, so they look at what did we play the last 2 times we were here. Okay, well let's not do that. Let's make sure that he's always aware of it. Most bands don't do that. So that's another problem is that you end up knowing, and I go and look to see what songs are, being played, what order to kind of know, but I'd rather not know. I'd rather just, oh, wow, all of a sudden they're playing Electric Eye and,
right.
It's cool, but you've already known and you're, I wonder whether, because it's available.
Right.
I kind of wish it wasn't. Now, having the videos like in the old days, one thing that was good about having a lot of videos posted was if there was a bad one that sounded awful, this would make people realize that it wasn't. Because there was a video from the first Rocklahoma, there was a VIP section on the stage, and the whole stage was a giant metal building,
Right.
So it sounded awful on stage, the sound's just doing this. So somebody did a video of Never Let You Go, and it said, I can't believe the bass player doesn't realize he's out of tune. Because it did. It sounded like I was out of tune. Because by the time my sound reached there, it's a different pitch.
Right.
But luckily some other fan posted, well, he's not out of tune in my video, and another one. So all of these videos popped up in the comments. And then the guy was like, oh,
I'm a dick.
I didn't know that, And so that's good, because I've seen videos posted that, oh my God, it sounds terrible. Like
Right.
you can't hear anything except for, something you don't want to hear.
Right.
And then you see the same video from out front, and because stage volume, that's another thing too, is, some bands don't have any amps, or they have one amp,
Yeah.
or they got one monitor, if everybody's in ears, you ain't gonna hear anything,
Right.
Like the Thorogood shows, we have VIPs that come over for 2 songs and watch on the side. But realistically, all they really hear is, the drums and George's amp.
Right.
They ain't hear. They're not going to hear anything else, because the amps are on the other side. There's no monitors or side fills that have, vocals in it, and that's it. And so it's one of those, weird things. Everything should be in the front. There should be no videos from the back.
Right. Well, they were saying even the artists that are playing at the Sphere in Vegas, there's no amps on stage.
No.
Everything is either
the crew
be either under or
yeah. The crew is way away from there. So I was in LA. We met Bill Walsh's, I guess it's his tour manager or his personal assistant, or what. I'm not sure what his job was, but he was telling us about he said have breakfast with us, and he told us about this, them doing the Sphere there, the Eagles, and he was just telling us how, all of everything about it, and there's no amps at all. The guitar techs are 200 yards away, in another room. Everybody's in other rooms watching on, he said it's quite a weird, and everything stays. So after the show, they put this giant thing, and the whole stage goes in, and they close it, so they can have other concerts there on the other nights.
No shit.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So it's because you only do like 3 days there or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't even really talk about, but a friend of mine is looking to do something there, with one of the groups that's got a residency there. So, and when we were talking, I heard a lot of stuff. I'm like, whew. I mean, you have a mishap on stage and your guitar tech is 200 yards away. That's not like he can just be up there, switch something out, and jump off. He's got to run all the way over. Half the song's over with now, and you're like, wow, that sucked. He just played 2.5 minutes with no E string.
Yeah, and there's no way around it. It's like, I mean, there's nowhere for them.
Right. So.
And as much money as they're paying you.
That's it, Jeff. We're never playing there.
That's wonderful. I mean, I had heard, and Rev, you can actually confirm this. Joe Walsh had never used in-ears before until
then.
Wow.
Yeah. And he had to. He said every day he had so many problems before he got finally got used to it.
Yeah.
I think he said maybe he had tried them and he'd put one in sometimes, and then but the first time he ever actually used them was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if Ultimate Ears
they
helped.
tried to book me. They tried to book me there, but the capacity's so small.
Yeah. You need a big room.
Bob likes a big room, sir.
Bob likes a big room.
Yeah.
I heard it from my friend in Vegas. He's playing the Copa.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah, we're not going down the movie quote line. Dude. No, we're not.
Nope.
Rev, thank you so much once again.
Thanks for having me back. I can't wait to do it again.
Yes, many times.
My wife made it on the show tonight.
That's your wife?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
she wears my shirt, so I wear hers.
So why don't Just have her on the show one day. Just bring her in.
Have her walk in and bring me a drink.
Yes. Yeah, and then you leave, and then she can stay and tell us all the true Rev stories.
All right. Okay, George.
Yeah.
Yeah. George, is your wife available to talk? Oh, yeah. And I put her on the phone, and I just leave.
Yeah, right.
She's stuck. George, he'll talk her ear.
Right.
She's a good sport.
That's awesome.
So I'll let her know next time. She has to tell the story.
That's right. That's right. Well,
and I'm the kind of person that would let her tell whatever story.
Well, we
nothing I do, I'm embarrassed of.
Well, then that's why you make such a good guest. So,
anyways,
thanks again for being on the show.
Yeah,
we're gonna roll out. Jeff,
thanks,
just sit there and look pretty.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, because I'm gonna just play the music because you phoned it in, literally fucking phoned it in today.
Got your phone
because of snow. Because of snow.
No.
That's all I'm gonna do. I'm not even gonna say it.
Stop recording and I'll tell them.
Yeah, hang on. I'll hit the button now.
All right.
Music's rolling. You've been listening to the band and the ugly with Big Papa, with Rev Jones, and with our own Snowbird. See, now that would be cool. We want to thank Ultimate Ears for being our sponsor. DJ Life's a Beach, Uncle Jimmy's Local Live Music, Print Shop Underground, and let's not forget. Oh wait, I'm sorry, Hogwash. You want to buy those albums? Rev Jones, Backwash, and all that. Just go to Rev Jones, buy that shit. We will always end the show with the same thing. Remember, be good to each other. That's right. Don't be a dick. Peace out. Not you.
Recording stopped.
There you go.